Welcome back everyone. In today's video we are flying out the F-80C Shooting Star, which is a 7.7 BR in the American tech tree. A while ago, several American planes gained infinite WEP when they're not supposed to, and that includes this plane. And just for reference, the F-80C is only supposed to have around 100 seconds of WEP, which is less time than the Me-262C variants have for rocket boosters. And up until now, this plane did have its realistic 100% like it's supposed to, but as we can see, this is no longer the case. For a 7.7 aircraft, the acceleration, the climb, and the energy retention is basically uncontested. The only planes I can see catching you at this BR are rocket planes like the Me-163 and the 262C variants, but the problem for them is that they don't get much fuel to chase you down, while this thing can just kind of hammer the weapon and keep going for the entire match. This plane is really similar to something like the Yak-23 or the Ariete, which is at 9.3, but since it's a lower BR, you're mainly going to be fighting jets that just cannot hold their energy well enough to get away from you. And keep in mind, if you get it down tier to 7.0, or God forbid 6.7, you're going to be fighting a lot of planes that just, you're going to be fighting planes like the Me-262A, Su-9s, SK-60s, or early Meteors. And also, the amount of F-80Cs I've had to face in my Spitfire Mark 24 is absurd, because that plane, although I love flying it, it only gets full up tiers. Absolutely terrible matchmaker. Now, in an up tier, of course, you're going to run into some pretty scary planes like the MiG-15 BIS or the G91 with 4 AIM-9Bs, and there's even a Hunter F1 at 8.7, but that's just kind of how the matchmaker works when you're flying any jet from 7.0 all the way to top tier pretty much. The matchmaker is just extremely compressed, and about 90% of the jets will either slam the lobby in a down tier or get slammed in an up tier. But at 7.7, the F-80C with infinite WEP actually feels like it keeps up with those 8.3 and 8.7 matches, because even though you have a worse top speed than the swept planes you will end up fighting, if they decide to turn with you or get too slow, they are not going to really last very long. And because your energy retention and production is so good, you can just send it into the nearest furball and start picking people off without having to worry about getting caught by anybody, as long as you're just aware of your surroundings and you don't let anyone sneak directly behind you. You guys are going to see plenty of examples in this video where I enter a fight going 800, and after 3 minutes of turning and shooting at people and sharp maneuvers, I'll still be going like 700. And this plane, it just feels like it can get away with a lot more than it should, because you basically have 25% more thrust than you're supposed to, and that's for the entire match. And to throw on top of the insane energy, the F-80C also has pretty good straight line speed for a 7.7, and it turns really well, and it has some of the best guns at this BR, which are a set of 6 M350 cals. They're total laser beams, and currently the 50 cals are just kind of overperforming, so they feel like they hit harder than most of the cannons. So the F-80C sort of gets like a double whammy buff. Infinite WEP and really good 50 cals that hit like cannons. This plane really just feels like you're cheating. Moving on to the speed, while you aren't going to be catching planes like the F-84G or the MiG-9 late in a straight line over long distance, if you start to chase somebody at a lower speed, the F-80C will catch pretty much anything at its own BR or in a down tier. The only real weakness of this plane is the high-speed control. The roll freezes up pretty badly, and the elevator also compresses a fair bit, but that really is the only problem. Besides being slow in an up tier, but that kind of applies to all jets, it only has one problem. To sum the F-80C up, this plane basically does whatever it wants, and it does not give a hell about what plane it's fighting. It has the flight performance necessary to do really good even in an up tier, and it also has the firepower to get several kills before rearming. The F-80C, in my opinion, is completely broken, but I don't know if it deserves to have its BR changed. I think that Gaijin just needs to fix the WEP glitch, because if this plane were to move up to 8.0 or even 8.3, it would be fighting some supersonics in an airframe that can only go 900 in a straight line. And to be fair, this bug should have never really happened in the first place, but hopefully Gaijin can fix it sometime soon. Anyways, let's get into the rest of the video. This isn't a super in-depth review like my Typhoon or LA7 video, but I still do have quite a bit of footage for you guys. First, I have some examples of dogfights, then some furballs, and then several full matches, which some of them are just going to showcase how insane this plane is at 7.7. I've got some 6 and some 7 kill games, and even an 8 kill game, which will be the first full match in the video. You guys are definitely going to want to see that one. So I'll leave some timestamps so you can jump around in the video however you seem fit. And yeah, let's go. Alright, so here I'm fighting an R2Y2, and they aren't a really good 8.0 at all, but they're no slouch in a 1v1 dogfight like this. And this match, I was actually stocked. This was my first match I took out in the F-80C, and I'm having absolutely no problem keeping up with an R2Y2. And this next, I think this was the match just after. It was facing an LA200. He's coming at me. I'm going to take a head-on because the LA200 doesn't have a very good set of guns for that, and I'm going to turn basically back in front of him. He is a bit slow right now, but I'm not going to chop my throttle because if he decides to run away, which he is doing now, I want to make sure that I'm going as fast as I can just to be able to catch him. And he is crit, but I only have like maybe 1 or 2 modifications at this point, and I'm easily catching this guy. And when you're able to out-accelerate an LA200 like this, yeah, sure he was crit, but it's not even fair. This F-80C is, I mean, you can see for yourself, I'm catching an LA200 with ease, and I'm not even spaded. And here, this next example is an F-86, and he did kind of start out in front of me. I do get a hit on him, but the second he takes that turn, instead of trying to extend away from me, he dies because I'm a straight-winged aircraft. I just turn so much better at him, especially at low speeds, that he doesn't really have a chance to do anything except for maybe roll out of my guns. But since we're already going slow enough, my roll isn't really compressing at this speed. So all I really need to do, and you can already see I'm going faster than him too because I have better MER. If you're able to take an 8.3 down that easily in this plane, and it's at 7.7, that's pretty ridiculous. And this plane also is really good at head-ons because it has 650 cals, and of course they're the M3s. They're absolute laser beams. I mean, I think they shoot 1,200 rounds a second, but since you have so many bullets going down range at once, you can kind of just spray, and a lot of my kills in these head-ons are going to be pilot snipes, as you're going to see. I get a lot of pilot snipes with this aircraft, a lot of fire sets, because 50 cals are just basically infused with napalm at this point. But yeah, the guns are really nice. The guns are absolutely no complaints. Some of the best guns at this BR in my opinion, even though they're not cannons. But here we have a dogfight against the Kika. Now, the Kika is no slouch in a 1v1. It doesn't turn the best, however, its energy, retention, and climb rate, and just kind of energy fighting in a nutshell is just really good. So I want to be careful with luring him up and being a bit too aggressive here. However, at this point, I'm pretty much spaded in this aircraft, and even the Kika has absolutely no chance to really follow me up here and get his guns on me, as long as I spiral out of his guns enough like this and don't go straight up. He does get a bit close here, but at these altitudes and at these speeds, the Kika's going to have a really hard time pulling his nose around because he just doesn't really have a very good turn rate, and he stalls below me. So that just gives him, or that gives me his 6, and eventually I also out-accelerate him too. So I'm just going to take a couple of shots with 50 cals at long range because some of them can hit from here, and the Kika doesn't have a very good damage model. And his only real choice is to just dive away from me, but I'm going to end up catching him either way. So, since there's no other enemies in the area, I am going to take my time, just to kind of see what this guy wants to do, if he wants to dive straight down, or if he wants to pitch back up into me. He tries to pitch back up into me, but I read that. I get a nice hit on his left wing, and it doesn't do much damage, but this is the only shot he's going to be able to get. I'm going super fast right now, and he's going to have a really hard time hitting this, so I just go to the side, keep spiraling up, and then put it into a scissor fight. And I just turn better than the Kika at these speeds. I climb with him. I retain more energy than him. And there's realistically nothing he can do. He's locked in here with me. If he tries to extend away, I kill him. And if he tries to keep turning with me, there's not much hope either. I end up getting his wing taken off, and he's going to fly into the ground shortly after. You can already see I'm kind of typing in the chat. It's like, it really isn't fair. Alright, this next Furball example is on a desert map. I believe this was an 8.3 match. It was taking a while before I did this voiceover, so I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at, but I can see that I'm going for an LA200. However, he's just too fast, and I now see a Comet up here in front of my nose. And a Comet is one of those planes that I really want to get out of the match because they're just a really annoying plane, especially in a Furball. So if I ever do get an opportunity to shoot at them, I'm going to take it. But that does leave me open for the LA200 to get back on my 6. So he is catching me, however, at that range, he's just not going to really be able to get any guns on me in time, so I can kind of pick up the R2Y2 on my way. And then, after I kill the R2Y2, I can just start spiraling around this guy's guns, and the LA200 is just not maneuverable enough and not nimble enough to really be able to get his crosshair on me. And although he is right behind me, he's not very dangerous. So I think he ended up air braking me there, which is why I ended up getting away from him so easily. I'm just leaving him in the dust. I just do a flat turn and he's basically gone. I just barely missed the shot on the reverse guy in the Sea Venom. And if you didn't know, Reverse and Ceres don't really like each other, so whenever we get kills on one another, we like to kind of hound them for that. So I end up getting a shot on the Meteor, critting him, and he's not really able to react to the damage before he can pull out of that. So he goes down. I'm going to start catching this Sea Venom because it's not the fastest aircraft, and it's kind of fat for a Venom. So I end up getting pretty close directly on a 6, and although I'm not necessarily a better turning aircraft, I can just kind of air brake him, and my turning circle is just going to be a bit tighter. He ends up going down, and that is 2 reverse guys down. So this next example, I'm above 4 guys, and I think a Seahawk also joins kind of later, but I'm mainly focused on the Yak-23 and the MiG-15, because MiG-15 is one of those fast aircraft. He just appears there now, so instead of going for the Yak-23, I target him. Unfortunately, just miss, and I get a fleeting shot on the Su-11, only get a hit, but it doesn't really matter. I can just go straight back up, and these guys are kind of low and slow compared to me, and it's just a matter of picking the right target at the right time, because they're all not super dangerous right now. The Yak-15, or sorry, the Yak-23 is kind of pitching into me, but my teammate's on him. I can go for the MiG-15 because he's doing a full broadside to me, absolutely disassemble his aircraft with one burst of the 50 cals. Oh boy, these guns are so good. They really do hit like 20 mils. But I don't really have time to think about that. Su-11 coming in, and he's just too slow to really get his guns on me. I can just pitch up straight over his nose, and I'm going to go for the Yak-23 now, because that is the most annoying plane in this fight as well. It's one of those furball monsters that you really want to get out if you have the chance to kill them. And after going for the Yak-23, the Seahawk appears in front of my nose, take him out with a couple of short bursts, loop on back over, dodge the Su-11 yet again. And I've actually not used my WEP this fight, which I don't really know why. I don't know why. But I think I start using it here in a second. Here we go. I guess that's since I'm now kind of at these guys' energy state. I turn into the Su-11. He's not really paying attention to me because he has a couple of other teammates around him. And I can just hammer my elevator and eventually get behind this guy because I turn better than him. And it's kind of funny because Su-11s are a really, really good 7.3. They should probably also be 7.7. They're one of those aircraft that also have really good energy, but when you put it up against an F-80C, the Su-11 actually becomes the underdog, which is pretty crazy. And yeah, the Su-11 has basically no chance here. Although it is pretty tanky, it's not really a match for 50 cals. I end up hitting him maybe 20 times there. He goes down. And we're going to hop into the first full match of the video. This was the 8-kill game, and 7 out of the 8 kills I actually ended up getting in the first furball before going to rearm. I ended up getting a crit on the MiG-15 in the head-on, but I'm not going to do a 180 for him because even though he's crit, I'm never going to catch that guy. So I'm just going to extend towards the Meteor, who's also in front of me. And there's not much to say here. I mean, it's a Meteor who's not really paying attention. Eventually I'm going to get too close for him. He's not really slow enough to dodge effectively either. So even if he did see me, he's just, yeah. His tail goes off in one burst, and I'm now going to turn back to the left towards the kind of rest of the enemies. And you can see there's quite a few enemies all gathered together in one place, but right now the MiG-15 is the top priority target. He's at the top of his loop, which means he's the slowest. He's not paying attention to me. I line up a pretty easy shot, completely disassemble his plane as well, and I'm going to turn away from the F-86. And right now I have a Meteor who's on my teammate, so I'm going to go after him just to kind of get him off of my teammate 6, make sure my teammate survives. And the Meteor actually ends up seeing me, and he dodges just above my guns. My roll kind of was compressing at that speed, so it was kind of hard to get my guns on target. A bit of a whiff too, but I can just extend away. I'm much faster than him, and I'm just going to go towards him more towards the middle of the map. MiG-9 is a bit too high for me. Meteor is going down low, but the Seahawk is going to pitch right in front of my guns. So I'm going to go for him, but I can kind of tell at the last second he's going to go head on, so I don't really stick it. It's just not worth it in that kind of sense. Much more risky for me to keep that head on instead of going after him. He has a much higher chance of killing me. I go for the F-84, just barely miss. But the F-86 now appears right in front of my guns. He goes full broadside of me at the worst possible moment. I end up getting a crit on him, and I'm actually going to 180 for him because he kind of also is turning back towards the furball, and an F-86 is definitely one of those planes that you also want to really keep as a high priority target. Whenever you get the chance, you want to kill them. I kill the Seahawk who's after my teammate, go and save him, and I contemplate going for the F-84G, but I also see that the F-86 is also turning back into me, and he's kind of giving me a shot here, so I'm going to end up spraying quite a few rounds at him just to make sure he goes down. I end up whiffing quite a bit, but my next burst is a severe damage, and after I think I killed this engine there, so I'm just going to leave him. Almost get a shot on the MiG-9, just going to extend away afterwards, and the WEP is kind of near the edge of the furball, so I know no one's going to be directly behind me. I don't really need to look behind me until I kill him, and I'm just going to extend away after I shoot him down. So just kind of assessing the situation. I'm still going 720 by the way, and even in these turns I'm gaining speed, which I find pretty funny. I'm going to go for the Meteor now because he's kind of at the end of the furball line, and he's also after my teammate, so that's a good target to go for. And in these furballs, you definitely got to keep your wits about you, but it's also about choosing the right target. So most of the guys, or I haven't really been in any real danger because I've been keeping my eyes behind me, and the MiG-9 is not keeping his eyes behind him, which is why I can get so close. I don't have too much ammo left, so I want to be conservative, and I end up getting severe. That Meteor in the background is going to go down. I can now go for the Su-11. I have 7 kills, and yeah, it's just a matter of time. So Su-11 is pretty tanky. He's going to kind of present a really hard shot here, so I'm just going to loop behind him. I'm going a bit too fast, so I'm going to deploy my air brakes, try and get a shot, but I'm still going too fast. Su-11 ends up just getting below my guns there, and yeah, I'm not going to really be able to get a clean shot here because he's just kind of too slow for me to really get behind him, even with my air brakes fully out. I probably should have cut throttle here. But yeah, this guy's just getting chased by super amounts of enemies. The MiG-15 who kills him actually ends up crashing into the river at the bottom of the ravine, which I found pretty funny. But this is after our rerun. I had a teammate who had a MiG-15 bis on his 6, and even though the MiG-15 is a better aircraft, it doesn't win a dogfight against an F-80C, which I find pretty funny. So the second this MiG-15 actually starts turning like this instead of extending away, he loses because his speed is really the only advantage, and I suppose MiG-15s aren't really used to that because their main advantage is usually going to be turn rate and energy retention, but when you have a straight wing plane behind you that also retains a lot of energy in turns, you're just not really going to get away from them when you're going to be doing your kind of main playstyle. You have to fight them differently, and unfortunately the last guy ends up purposefully crashing into a mountain, of course, so I do not get my 9-kill game, but I still find that to be one of my best games that I've played in this plane. This next match is on Pyrenees, so it is a high altitude map, not the best for me, but since there aren't really any supersonic aircraft at this BR, it's going to kind of level the playing field anyways. So I end up starting behind an F-86 F-30, and this is another 8.3, I think 8.7 even full up tiers, so you're going to see that even in these up tiers, I'm going to be able to hold my own pretty easily. This is kind of like an A7M2, if you will. I just recorded an A7M2 video, actually. But that would be a plane I would kind of compare it to if you had to compare it to a prop. That or a Yak-3U. Anyways, I end up kind of whiffing, but the F-86 does end up crashing, so I'm just going to extend away now. Speeding this part up of the video because there's not really much to talk about. I'm just kind of assessing the situation, picking out who I really need to go for, getting some energy back. And the A4H now turns into me, just am barely not able to pull enough lead, but now I'm going to pitch up for the F-86. He's also kind of going towards my teammate, so I want to get him off my teammate, just end up missing. G91 comes in, and although it looks like he can get his nose on me, he's just not going to be able to because I'm not going very fast, but I can just turn inside of him. So I get out of his nose pretty easily. I'm going to do a split S to gain some speed now and start heading for the F-86. He takes a head-on with me, I just spray a line, end up getting another pilot snipe, which these guns seem to be really good at. The 50 cal pilot snipes are absolutely 100% real. And I'm going to line up another head-on with the MiG-15 now. However, I kind of lined this up a bit bad. My rudder was not necessarily in the right position, so I end up shooting just to the side of him. But now I'm just going to turn around for the A4H. And you can see, even at this altitude, I'm keeping all of my speed in these turns, which is really nice to have. Playing with good MER is always useful in these kind of multiple versus one or these furball situations where you really have to keep your wits about you. If you don't have to really focus on keeping and maintaining your speed, you can focus a lot more on kind of positioning and keeping an eye on where the enemies are. I have ample time and positioning to take a head on with MiG 15 here, end up getting a crit, his tail gets crit, and I'm just going to keep going for the next MiG 15. He ends up turning just below me, however, I react just in time, take his pilot out as well, and I'm going to dodge over the G91R4's guns. And if this guy tries and turns with me, or if this guy tries to turn with me, sorry, he's going to die. He turns with me just for a bit, but then he realizes that he has to kind of run away from me, so he is going to be faster. I end up missing a couple of shots there, but now that group of enemies to my left just got done dealing with my teammate, so they're going to start coming over here now too. So it's not just going to be me and this guy alone, it's going to be 3 more enemies, so I have to deal with this guy pretty quick. He ends up going vertical, which is kind of not the best choice because I have actually, believe it or not, better climb than him. Better climb than an 8.7. So he ends up going down. I take his engine out and severe it. And I'm just going to dive away to get some speed back for the next group of enemies that's coming in. So I'm just figuring out who wants to go for me right now. It looks like the G91. I'm going to take a head-on with him, of course. End up just barely missing, going over his canopy. And then I'm going to turn into the A4H. LA-15 actually ends up diving right on top of me. I almost didn't see him in time, but I just roll out of his guns. LA-15 ends up extending away. And I'm now going to go for the G91, who is kind of not really paying attention to me. He's ends up getting locked in a duel with another person, so I end up getting right behind him. LA-15 above me, but he's not really going to be able to get his nose in onto me if I turn into him this quick. So I spray a line, end up pilot sniping him as well, and that's going to be 6 kills in, I think, 5 minutes or so. But yeah, this was a pretty nasty Furball match as well, where I just kind of sent myself in there. I'm still going plenty fast even at this altitude after all that turning. And the last guy is an A4H, who I unfortunately don't get the kill on. I only end up getting a hit in the head on. And before I can turn around in time, my teammate in the A4E ends up taking him out. After, I think I end up rearming here after the transition. Yes, I do. This IL-28 was definitely base camping for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, which I found really annoying, but the second he got off just out of his missile range, I ended up taking a pass on him, taking him out, and that is going to be 7 kills. Just barely get away from the missiles. Boy, this plane is disgusting. Even in up tiers, this plane is awesome. So this next match is a 6-kill game. I end up going for the Key 200 because, yet again, those rocket planes like the Comet and the Key 200 are one of those planes that you really want to focus on if they give you a chance to. They're just really annoying to deal with because they're kind of like you in a way, where they keep their energy really well. So that's a good first kill to get. He was actually AFK, I think, so I end up getting a pretty easy shot. But now I'm going to start shooting at this F-80C. Yet again, another one of those planes who you really want to deal with quick because they're so much faster than you. End up just missing the first burst, but he's not really going that much faster than me, so I end up spraying quite a bit at him, getting a critical. And I'm just going to follow him down because there's not really any other enemies in the area. I end up one-tapping his engine, and I'm just going to continue on. And these guns, oh my gosh. So the M350 cals, I guess in jets, it's different from jets and props because their engines and their airframes are just kind of built differently. So I feel like I end up getting a lot more pilot snipes, but also a lot more severes, as in the term of their engine getting killed. Like this plane gets a lot of severes with their engine getting killed. So after I end up killing the Alpha Jet, sorry, I kind of got onto a bit of a rant, not really paying attention, but the Mystère comes in, I have to dodge his head on. And I'm just going to loop back around because there's not really anyone on my 6. I want to keep my eye on the Mystère while I'm going for the Meteor. End up taking a shot at the Meteor, just barely missing, but I'm going to turn after him because he's still not paying attention to me. End up getting a crit, and then severing him just a second later. After he's severe, his engine's pretty much cooked, so I'm just going to leave him and then move on to the next target. LA-200 kind of on me, but if I turn like this, I'm pulling 11 Gs, he's just not really going to be able to pull his nose onto me. And so he ends up extending away after that shot. Mystère going really slow, pretty easy shot. End up disassembling his plane in one burst as well. And I'm just going to pitch up into the MD-450 because I have the energy to. Even after all that turning, I'm still going plenty fast to just get behind this guy, and even though he was like right above me just a second ago, I'm going just about as fast as him now too. I end up getting a severe on him, which I'm not sure what exactly. It may have been his tail control or rudder. But instead of just leaving him after I've severed him, I want to make sure he actually is going to go down. So I end up shooting him just a bit more, and end up sawing his tail off at very close range. So that is going to be 6 kills. I end up using all my ammo. The IL-28 dies in, I think, 30 seconds after that clip ends. And this is the last game. So I ended up getting 5 kills and 4 assists with 1 ammo load. I end up going for this guy who's, I mean, it's just a really easy target. End up completely torching him. But that's actually going to be one of my assists instead of one of my kills, because he was not severe. My teammate ends up taking it, and that's okay. I don't really mind kill stealing if it's my teammate or if it's my squad mate, I guess. So that's going to be just fine. Attacker now appears as well directly over me. Line him up. Ends up getting a crit. And I'm going to keep my eye on the meteor now. He is the closest to me, however, I think this was a 6.7 match. Yeah, there's a Spitfire back there. So this is just going to show you how disgusting this plane is in a down tier now. It can do really well in up tiers, but the second you get a down tier like this, oh boy. So this A21 RB ends up turning after my teammate, doesn't end up seeing me. I'm going to take a short burst at him, disintegrate his aircraft. Spitfire now goes after my teammate, yet again does not see me. End up taking a short burst at him, taking his wing off. Teammate ends up getting a 262. And we're just going to continue on towards the left group of enemies on the west side of the map. And we're going to start above them with more energy, of course. ME-262 is not paying attention to me as well. I'm not sure what was up with this game, but I end up just barely missing. I'm kind of compressing at this speed, so if I were to go a bit more aggressively after him there, then I may have hit the ground. So I'm just going to extend away from him and go kind of move to his teammate who's next to him. This 262 Jabo is doing all sorts of whack shit, but I end up getting a pretty easy shot after he was just a bit too slow to dodge there, even though he was throwing his controller, throwing his plane all over the place. He just wasn't really slow enough to get out of my guns there. End up going directly over the 262 who's on my teammate. He ends up giving me a pretty easy shot. Take him out, and that is going to be 4 kills. Gonna start turning to the right, go for this attacker. And this is the attacker I crit earlier this game, I'm pretty sure. So he goes broadside to me, taking a burst, taking his engine out, and he's going to crash into the ground. Unfortunately, that was an assist, because of course it was. Su-11 goes head-on with me. I end up dodging his rounds, only getting a hit in the head-on, but I do get an oil leak, and I'm fast enough to just kind of turn around and instantly start catching him, which I find kind of funny. I'm catching a Su-11 after I did a 180 for him. If that's not absurd, I don't know what is. I completely torch his aircraft, both engines on fire, pilot snipe, everything critical. But this was after, I think, couple minutes of flying around looking for the last guy. He just ends up taking off. I don't have much ammo here, and I'm not doing a very good job conserving it. But I will let you know that I did not get the kill on this. I find this pretty funny to be what happened here. SK-60s are kind of tanky. I don't run into them too often, but when I do, they are pretty annoying to kill. So I end up just missing there. He flies through a tree and doesn't crash. I only have 14 rounds left now. Just a matter of kind of getting on a 6 and making sure my final rounds hit. Just a bit closer. And no damage. And I can kind of predict what's going to happen here. This F-84 is going to go full commit head-on with this SK-60, even though he's super slow, even though he's already crit. And they end up trading. I only get an assist. Of course, the F-84 dies like that. But that is going to be the end of the video. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.